pretty, I'm trying to just hold on, I'm ready for something, I mean, I'm not ready now. No, I'm not ready now, just general. It's cold. It's Dr. McAllister's fault.
Man.
It's your fault.
Yes, ma'am, we just.
Yeah.
I'll fix it.
Did you can?
If I did.
Two.
Here we go, Dr. So sweet.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to call the Asheville City Board of Education work session meeting to order. First on our agenda, education reminder.
As you know, our advanced ed visit will be next week. Our visitors will be here on Sunday and they will leave on Wednesday. Those visitors are from across the state as well as across the country. They'll be here to give us insight about our continuous improvement processes. They'll also provide us with feedback on anything that we can improve upon. And so they're basically taking an in-depth look at our school. We really feel like that we are prepared and ready for that visit. Ms. Hecht is facilitating that visit for us, and all of our leadership team, our school principals, assistant principals, and all of our staff have been working diligently to make sure that we are prepared for this external visit. So, thank you.
Next, we have our construction update by Dr. McAllister.
Good afternoon, everyone. We have the construction update by TJ Hollers. He's going to go over each campus that we have construction going on. And then Mr. Terry LeDuc is here from Reliant Environmental. He'll be able to answer any questions as it relates to the lead situation that arose in your packet. From my understanding, you have a lead and lead information. So after TJ finishes with the overall of where we are with each area, then Mr. LeDuc can answer any questions in regards to any lead questions. So I'm thinking, so.
Sure. All right, let me start with Asheville High. I know a lot of folks kind of want to know typically just where we're at percentage-wise, so I thought we'd update there first. The phase one work at Asheville High, which is all the tuck pointing and roof work, we're just a little over 60% complete there. Phase two, which is primarily cleaning, CTE, varsity gym, media center, and also mechanical upgrades inside the CTE. We're about 70% complete there. And then on the phase three work, we just got started with that. That's where we're inside the main building and inside the CTE building. We're just over 7% complete there. And then the specifics of that are the stone restoration, tuck pointing, that's going well. Auditorium tuck pointing is complete, except for some minor punch lists. We've even got downspouts. As you can see, they're going on the building, kind of helps transform that whole front facade of that building. The south wing, we're over 60% complete there. The tuck pointing, that's kind of, and on the back side of the building, you can see that's where we're tuck pointing down. The rotunda, we've got the scaffold up in place there. They'll be there probably for the next 3 months. That'll be the slowest portion. We can only put 1 or 2 men on there at a time just based on the weight loads. So bear with us, they'll be there a while. The front entry stoop, we have started some of the minor repairs, but we'll complete that over the summer when kids aren't in session. And the tile roof, that work's going really well. Over the science wing is really the last piece that we've got to do. And the good news is we're able to get the sheathing and waterproofing back in place on that roof a couple weeks ahead of time. So they're working on the tile portion of that now, but it is in the dry. Teachers are back in there, so that's the good news of it. And like I mentioned, the gutters, flashing, all that will be ongoing. As we finish a section, we come right behind and put the gutters and downspouts on. The media center, CTE and media center, the glass replacement from CTE, we're a little over 50% complete. We'll probably still be there working on glass and glazing. Of course, for lead, that is slow progress. We're working on it, and we're about 50% complete there. The phase 3 work, which is primarily in CTE and the main building, we've completed a couple of stairwells now, putting handrails up, touch-up paint, and then also upgrading fire ratings. So really all we're waiting on now is some door hardware and doors to come in, and some of those, and then we'll do the final touch-ups. But 2 of those are complete, and we're working on stairs 3, 4, 5 over the next few weeks to a month. That's really it for the high school campus. Other than the site work, they are working on the storm drainage repairs too. Besides the tennis court, that is complete. We just got to get it paved over the next week. And then over behind the baseball field, they should finish with that this week and get that seeded back in and grass filled. So that was progressing well. And then just so folks know, coming up, the field turf replacement, worked with Don and his team, got final approvals on that, and that's set up to happen the week of July 4th. So that's when we'll take that field and replace the turf there. And then moving on to Montford, North Star. It's the biggest pieces there are phase 1 is over 91% complete, and phase 2, which is the elevator shaft and the labs, it's over 74% complete. The labs are done. There's a couple of minor punch list items where she is using those labs now, and we're using it as swing space to move folks into so we can access other areas and replace windows there. The elevator did pass last week. It is not officially open to the public yet. Just really we'll use it. We can use it on a case-by-case basis, but we prefer to wait until everything's 100% complete. But it did pass state inspection, which is a good thing. And then we're working on chiller and boiler startups, and just working through final test and balance on the mechanical system now. And the window replacement on that campus is a little over 75% complete. It moves a little quicker because those are similar to a residential window where you just pop it in place. It goes a little quicker. Ira B. Jones, we did get started there last week. Really just getting started, replacing some duct work in the gym, and then we've started setting a couple roof curbs and some minor things. And then next week we get started on the B-wing. Again, working on some ERB replacements. We'll be there through the end of the summer. And that's really it, Dr. McAllister.
Anyone have any questions in regards to what he shared as it relates to each one of our buildings as construction is presently going on before we move to any questions for Mr. Ledoux? All right, thanks. So if you led or in relation to that in terms of help, at this time we're going to give Mr. Ledoux an opportunity to kind of just pinpoint some information that's on the senior packet for each board member, and then he'll answer any questions that you might have.
Okay, just to quickly summarize, we did considerable testing in CTE. We tested the water, we did radon testing, we did indoor air quality testing throughout the building, and we didn't find any issues. The drinking waters met the North Carolina standards. Radon was below the EPA standard. As far as lead, where they were doing window removal, all those areas have been re-cleaned and retested and cleared. So the CTE building is essentially cleared and in good shape, if you will, from an environmental standpoint. In the high school, there was some badly flaking, peeling, painted areas in some of the classrooms and some of the corridors. We did a lead abatement design so the contractor could follow OSHA and appropriate rules and standards. And they set up containment and did those areas a week ago over the spring break. We did monitor. Again, all those areas are cleared. There was 8 classrooms and 4 to 5 areas in various locations of the corridors, and everything looks good. Those areas were sealed with a lead encapsulant, and then they'll be repainted.
Any questions for Mr. Leduc?
My only question is, if someone were to say to me, have you tested the high school? Do you know there's no problem there? I can say with certainty that it's been tested, you don't have any problems.
Test
Radon, lead,
radon. The only building we've tested is the CTE building related to radon and water.
And the rationale for that was the requested area to be tested because of some information we received from concerns from various staff members.
okay, and what about mold? Did we do anything with that?
In the CTE?
Yeah.
No. Well, let me back up. We did do indoor air quality tests. Yes, we did. We did a total, several areas, essentially not every room, but close to every room. We did indoor air quality testing for mold and no issues. All
Okay.
the results were in good shape.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Before Benoit and Mr. Leduc, I just want to say on behalf of the board and our superintendent, thank y'all so much for working with us to get us through this process and put appropriate protocols in place to endure for anything else that comes up. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Next on our agenda, we have Dr. McAllister again.
On March the 9th, we had a report sent to OSHA, which is Occupational Safety and Health Administration, the local office, to a Miss Christy Hall in regards to the lead at the high school. So I met with her this past Friday to follow up on the report. Prior to that meeting with her on Friday, we had to collect various information as it relates to this complaint. So we had to pull all the protocols that we did, all the letters that we sent out, all the safety requirements that we did, all the testing information that we did, and we had to forward that information to her. So during this meeting on the 13th, she informed me that we had a basic violation of standard. There was no monetary penalty attached to this standard. There's 3 primary areas that she identified that we needed to put some appropriate protocols and information in place. And those 3 areas, number 1 was each employer who has a workplace in which there is a potential exposure to airborne lead at any level shall inform employees of the content of appendices A and B of the regulation. So that's particularly specifically for the maintenance department. So appendix A and B are here. We're going to make copies of those and ensure that every maintenance person that is involved with potential around lead will have that information. The second thing that she noted was the employee shall make readily available to all affected employees a copy of this standard and its appendices, which again will do us copying of this information and forwarding it to them. And then lastly, employees shall include lead and hazard communication program established to comply with hazard communication standard. And in relation to that, they just wanted us to put together a protocol of how we're going to handle it. We're already working on the process of the protocol since we've had an incident with the lead at the high school. We put protocols in place. So we're going to finalize the protocol. Ms. Hall did not have her final report submitted to her supervisor as of yet. She was giving me the information so that I can relay the information to the superintendent and the board. She's going to submit her final report to her supervisor. We will receive that report in a certified letter. As soon as we receive the report and certified letter, we have 15 days in which to take note of these corrective actions. Again, they're basic minor violations. There's, again, no monetary enforcement that's going to be placed on them. So that's where we are at, and we've already started taking steps towards finalizing these corrective actions.
So we're not penalized financially, is that what you're saying?
Yes. So we just wanted to provide you an update on that information as it relates to the complaint from the lead at the high school. Questions?
Did she give you a timeline of when that will be sent?
No, ma'am. She just said when I receive it, I have 15 days, so I informed her we're already going to start carrying the process.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions? Thank you, Dr. McAllister.
Yes, ma'am.
Next, we have Dr. McAllister with makeup tips.
So, the weather tried to get us again today. Fortunately enough for us, it did not. So with that being said, we have approximately 5 hours banked if we had some potential bad weather. So as of today, we have 5 hours banked. On April the 27th is our PD day. If we needed to, we could use 2 of those hours if we had some potential for bad weather, which would give us a total of 7 hours. So right now, we have a total of 7 hours, and hopefully we won't have any bad weather from this point going forward. So just want to provide you all with where we are in terms of hours.
Any questions for Dr. McAllister? We have you for the softball field update.
So the middle school is in the process. They're going to receive a softball field on their campus as opposed to them going and having to go to Vance to play their softball games. So we've started that process. We have an itemized budget as it relates to this particular softball field. There's also a diagram attached. The softball field will be on top of the hill in the front of the building where it was intended to be initially during the construction. What's kind of stopped us at this point was we did not have the erosion and sedimentation control plan. We just received that plan at the end of last week. So the next step for us, after we receive that plan, we're setting up the surveyor to come out to do the survey. And the surveyor will make a schematic of basically how level that area is, if we need to take dirt from one side, put it to the other side, whatever it may be, and he'll come up with a schematic. That will allow us to move forward as it relates to the softball field. So that's where we are now. We're just waiting for Ed Holmes to contact us to see when we can get a date for the surveyor to come out, but we're prepared and just waiting for them to set that date up. And then Civil Design Concepts will help us once we receive that final schematic to come up with the final plans for the softball field. So that's pretty much the update with the softball field.
Thank you.
And the budget.
So there is a budget that I mentioned to you all, and it's in your folders. The budget amount for the field is $150,000. Right now, with the contractors, the original prices that we received from the builder that was helping us initially get this started, we have some original prices, and then we went back and had Mr. Sims and Mr. Shelton come up with some hard prices in which we can use, because when we received the initial original price, that was a few months ago. And as you're all aware, time passes, prices may go up, may decrease, you might be able to find a better rate. So the hard prices that we've come up with up to this point gets us to $144,905 of the $150,000 that was budgeted for this particular project. The 2 items at the very bottom of that itemized budget is installation of the scoreboard. We had to estimate with that, and we estimated $2,500. We estimated on the high end, felt like that would take care of it, as well as the permit fee from Asheville City. We estimated another $2,500 for that. And then for the site plans, we estimated $9,220. We feel like we can meet what we need to meet with the prices that we've estimated and identified on this expenditure. So again, we're at $144,905 of the $150,000. Hopefully nothing changes. Everything stays the same. If something changes, we'll definitely provide you with an update as it relates to the softball field.
back.
All right, Montford North Star Academy, just wanted to bring your attention to see if there's any further discussion in regards to offering sports at the middle school for rising seventh graders at Montford North Star Academy for the 2018-2019 school year. So we would like to be able to offer sports to our sixth graders that are going to seventh graders that are presently at Montford North Star Academy for them to participate in sports as seventh graders at the middle school. With that being said, we put in place transportation parameters to ensure that those students that want to participate in sports were able to get to the middle school on time to participate in practice and athletic activities. Once they arrive at the school, and if they have an athletic activity, then we will request that the parents pick them up after practice or after their games. So just wanted to make sure, see if there was any further discussion as it relates to the possibility of those particular students participating in sports at the middle school starting next school year.
So that's going to be something that's upfront, parents know that. We're gonna have something signed that says that they will be responsible for their child.
Yes, ma'am. We're gonna come up with a communication protocol to ensure that everybody knows. Basically, we're gonna come up with a written statement that each school, the middle school, Montford North Star Academy, and from the central office, we can share the same statement. We can put it on the website. We're gonna ask them to do it on their calls on the weekends or a number of weekends to ensure that everybody is notified. And then we're gonna attach a letter that we're gonna send home with those students that are at Montford North Star Academy, rising seventh graders.
So it'd be the same grade requirements for them to participate?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. And of course, it would just be the sixth graders going to seventh grade. And then, of course, the following year, we'll have seventh and eighth grade students going to the middle school participating schools.
Asheville Middle School students' parents are required to pick them up after these extracurricular programs.
Right. It'll be the same for these students. The only thing we're putting in place as another layer is if we have students that want to participate but may not have the ability to get a ride from Montford North Star Academy to the middle school for practices and or games, we're going to provide hopefully transportation to take them from Montford North Star Academy to Asheville Middle School to give them an opportunity, give them access. If not, some of them won't have access to get over there to participate.
Any other questions? Thank you, Dr.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Next, we have Dr. Moss. Yeah, Chris Campbell.
I was gonna let Dr. McCaskill, the ABT's doing such a good job, just take it and run with it.
We have the AV Tech trustee appointment.
Right, a little bit of a history lesson. This board and the Buncombe County Schools together appoint 4 trustees to the AV Tech Board of Trustees. And the statute says that the boards must jointly appoint, and that's the only guidance given by the statute. So the 2 boards some years ago drafted identical policies for how that would proceed, with basically the county schools electing 2 trustees, and this board approving that, and this board electing 2 trustees, and the county board approving those 2 trustees. So who is up in 2018 is Jacqueline Hallam, who used to be a city school board member, and Ms. Hallam is doing a good job as a trustee, and I think AV Tech is in communication saying that they're fine with her being reappointed, but obviously it's the duty of this board to do that reappointment. So the way we've set it up is that this board will make the appointment, and then the following month, the Buncombe County Schools will ratify or approve that appointment so that both boards have acted. So we'd like for this board to act a little later than May, so that the Buncombe County Board could act in June on your appointment. There is no protocol for this. This is truly at your discretion. You can simply choose to reappoint Ms. Hallam, and there's precedent for that certainly. You can also accept letters from folks who might be interested. You can do an application process. There is no legal requirement for how you go about doing this.
So who is the other person?
John Parham, Dr. John Parham, who is
Okay,
a
I know
physician
him.
at the VA, and is currently serving as the vice chairman. I think we've designed that he'd probably be chairman after this year. So that's your other appointment. He does not come back around until 2021. The years don't alternate. It's 2 in a row, 2 in a row, 2 in a row. So this is, you reappointed Dr. Parham last year, and Ms. Howland is this year. And I do not think we have got it on the agenda, certainly for this evening, for your regular meeting. So it's just your pleasure. Then now would be the time if you'd like the superintendent to just put Ms. Hallam on for reappointment in May. That's your prerogative. If you would like to use some other process, that's your prerogative as well.
Do we have any knowledge of anybody, and I'm just asking to be fair, of anybody else that's wanted to be appointed to this trustee board?
I'm not, but to be fair to those folks, I think historically, as long as the trustee was in good standing, it has probably been reappointed.
Okay.
I don't remember an open selection process that comes to mind. Not saying there wasn't one. It's something. And again, your official action would be no.
Okay.
So you can by consensus ask her to put it on the agenda, or again, now's the time to discuss it and use an alternate procedure.
So do we want to come up with a different procedure, or do we just want to ask her to reappoint Ms. Hallam? Think about it, we have a little bit of time until May. Think
We can
about it.
also make it an action item today, because it will still require a motion from the board member. So we could simply put action on AD Tech trustee as the agenda item in May. It doesn't have to say reappointment of Ms. Hallam.
Okay.
But again, it's best for you to make that decision in May, so that Monroe County has time to ratify.
Can you just put it as an action item so everybody has time to think of it until the next week? Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next is Banks with the budget presentations.
Set up here.
Thank you for giving us this time to discuss the proposed budget for 2018-19. We believe this budget has moves us forward with our excellence with equity. So we'd like to talk to you about what we proposed. I'd like to thank the leadership team, Dr. Patterson, principals, and other support staff, and certainly Sarah for their help with this budget.
All right, we're going to start with average daily membership. So the General Assembly funds us through the State Public School Fund, according to the funding formula set forth in the 2017 through 2019 biennial budget. So this funding is based on projected statewide growth for each fiscal year. This chart's going to give you a 10-year historical data of what the state has used for our average daily membership. So you can see we're on a positive slope there. For fiscal year 2019, the state is going to fund us based on 4,446 students. If we do not drop below 100 students, we're 2% of this number, whichever one is less. 2% is less for us, which equates to 89 students. So as long as we do not fall below 4,357 students, the state is still going to allot us based on 4,446. You may have any questions about that?
I call that my magic number.
It is. Okay, so here is just a snapshot of that previous number you just saw. And you see the different levels here, kindergarten, elementary, middle, and high, that make up this 4,446 number. And since 2010, we have increased by 20.3%. So that is great. We like to see our enrollment numbers increase.
They tend to overproject in the kindergarten They always say we're gonna have like 380, that's probably not gonna happen. Okay, now back in December, we talked to you about combining a program at Montford North Star Academy. So we went ahead and put that in the budget for next year, and that is the Asheville City Learning Program. We propose to have 3 teachers, a media coordinator, clerical bookkeeper, social worker, counselor, and a director. You will see we'll share the media coordinator, the social worker, and the counselor with Montford North Star. And we have that cost built into the Asheville City Learning Program at $470,000. Any questions about that?
Did Montford North Star have a social worker and counselor this past year?
They did, but we're going to combine those
Did
and
they have their own, or did they share with?
They share it. And also at Montford North Star Academy, of course, we're going to add a grade there, so we'll need 4 new core teachers. And we're going to make the art teacher 100%. And then they'll have their own music teacher. They share that with the middle school now. They'll have their own PE teacher, which they share that with the high school now. And of course, the media coordinator, social worker, and counselor will be shared with the Asheville City Learning Program.
Charlotte, one question.
Okay.
How do they share the high school PE teacher rather than middle school PE teacher? Just a question.
That's just how it worked out this year. I don't know if Ms. Hatcher wants to.
Basically what happened, with our previous superintendent, when we did our staffing for last year, she spoke with our principal here at the high school and felt that that would be a good setup. So basically the principal at the high school and Ms. Baggett worked together, and that relationship has worked well in other schools. But we did see the need for her to have her own PE teacher, so, and he was gracious enough, because it was his position, and he was gracious enough to share. So that was the recommendation of our former interim superintendent, and it just worked out.
Okay.
Any more questions?
It won't happen this year.
Okay.
You see that there, Ms. Griffin?
I see it. I see it.
We have it built in.
It's built in, Ms. Griffin.
Okay.
Oh, did I skip one? Okay. And of course, we collaborated with like principals and leadership team and other support staff to see the needs of the district. And we have proposed to add a transition counselor at the high school, a AHA teacher, AHA counselor, and a custodian at Asheville High School. Any questions?
So when you say transition counselor, you mean like a transitioning out of high school?
I know for 8th grade.
That'll be
9th grade.
specifically for 8th and 9th grade. We felt like we needed a person at the middle school to really make sure to build those relationships and prepare the students for 9th grade. And so that person would also work with the 9th grade at the high school to make sure that their transition into high school went well also. So that person would only work with 8th and 9th grade. And we create a schedule that will impact the students for that.
Okay, question. So that person on the 8th grade side is going to be looking at, is going to be keeping track of the students and how well they're doing before they transition to.
Yeah, and I think that early look ahead is more proactive on our part so that we can make sure that the students are successful in high school so that they can graduate at the end of that cohort of 4
Okay.
years.
So that counselor is going to know at the beginning of next year who is at risk.
Yes.
Okay.
And hopefully by the end of the year, they won't be as at risk or not at risk at all.
Okay.
So will this counselor be at the middle school, or will they be located at the high school, or will they go back and forth?
They'll go back and forth, so the principals will have to have a place to house that person because they'll be seeing kids and connecting with teachers, so they'll need locations.
Right.
And Principal Dockery and Dr. Dingle, we touched on it, but not in great detail because we need this to pass first. But I think they're on board with it, or am I speaking? Okay.
Absolutely on board.
So I think they see that need, so it would be an additional person.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
And also at the primary school, of course, we'll add the 3rd grade, and we propose to add a principal because Dr. Meskill was serving as the preschool director and also kind of as the lead at the primary this year. So there's a need for a principal there. Also 2 teachers and a half of an enhancement teacher. You're saying why half? We hope the state's gonna fund 2 enhancement teachers from House Bill 90, which are supposed to fund enhancement teachers. So we'll really have 2.5 enhancement teachers at the primary school.
Can you explain that enhancement?
Enhancements like art, music, PE, specials.
So, question, so they're gonna have a director and a principal?
They'll have a director of the preschool program, and then a principal at the primary.
Okay.
And the primary side, that's the K-3 side. And then we talked, how many classes does she have for the pre-K on that end at that school site?
7 in her building, plus
7.
4 off-site. And so the director of the pre-K has to manage all of those. There's one at Jones, there's one at Paul Fletcher, there's one at Isaac Dixon, the Christina Avery partnership, plus the 7. And it's a very complicated funding. There's 5 different funding sources. It's a full-time job definitely by itself.
Plus she attends all the partnership meetings, Dr. Miskell does. And we have to have representation at those meetings.
Any more questions? Also, as I said, we collaborated and thought of other district needs, and there's a need for a social worker. We're not sure where that social worker will be. We're just proposing to add a social worker, add a SRO, add a EC pre-K teacher, a nurse, and a behavior assistant.
And I think with our behavioral needs and our mental health needs, you can recognize our desire to make sure we have a social worker and that behavior assistant there. As far as SRO, as we are trying to increase our safety measures and protect our students and our buildings, want that additional staff and personnel. EC pre-K teacher, Melissa, do you want to speak to that one?
We've seen an increase in our numbers of EC students in the pre-K years. We currently have one position housed at Asheville Primary to serve all of the pre-K needs for EC, but we need at least one additional full-time person. It's just the intensity of the need and what the numbers of exceptional children in those early years have risen significantly. Which on the flip side is good because it means we have a lot more kids in pre-K than we used to have, but a lot more kids means a lot more exceptional needs.
Have we always paid for the school nurse? Seems like I remember that.
No.
So Dr. Castor can speak to that.
So we have a contract that we contract with Mayheck that provides that nursing piece for us and Buncombe County Schools. And so that current contract is covering the current number of nurses we have now. We would like to, we're adding this additional nurse. For instance, Asheville High actually shares a nurse, does not have a full-time nurse, and obviously there's a need at Asheville High for the campus plus SILSA to have a full-time nurse for sure. So, Dingle can surely speak to that.
Definitely vouch for that.
So that would really be the piece that we're looking to add.
That's good.
So our vision is we're really trying to build that team with each school, a social worker, that SRO, the nurse, a behavior assistant, and counselor. Yes, that's our goal.
But we're not there yet.
We're not there, so we're slowly getting there, but that really needs to be a true goal of ours.
It should be an effective team if we
Yes.
get that together.
And that way they're not traveling everywhere across the district. They can meet the needs stationary at one place. And I don't want it to confuse it with Asheville High and SILSA to think they can always combine. Asheville High has 100 plus students. SILSA has 400. You know, when you combine those needs together, that's still like, you need double. It's hard to manage that.
So currently, right now, that contract is $143,119 that we pay to be a part of that nursing contract at the moment. So that gives us the number of nurses that we currently have
To meet the state requirements.
to meet the state requirement.
But we have an Asheville City Schools requirement, and we want a nurse and that special team at every school site.
Have you already identified where you want your social worker, SRO, and nurse and behavior?
Not definitely. We've had some talks about it. You know, we have proposal A and B, if this is, passed. So certainly want to talk to the principals as a whole to see where their needs are and make that decision with them together. But I think they would all agree that we would need this, but where the placement is, want their input with that as well.
The benefit would be to everybody in the district by including that, because everyone's takes time will increase by lightening the load of any one place.
Yes.
So wherever we choose to place them.
Okay, so as you all know, we started 2 new schools this year, one of which being Asheville Primary, which focuses on a Montessori theme. Currently in this fiscal year, Asheville Primary has served kindergarten through 2nd grade. Next fiscal year, we are expanding from kindergarten to 3rd grade. The other new school, Montford North Star Academy. This is a STEAM school. They focus on science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. Currently in this fiscal year, they solely serve 6th grade students. Next fiscal year, we will be adding a 7th grade. House Bill 90. There has been a lot of buzz about House Bill 90. So this bill is going to provide a 4-year phase-in for the class size caps. Okay, so what this means is that next fiscal year, nothing is going to change. It's going to stay the same as what it currently is. But as you can see, as we progress over the next fiscal years, you can see the figures drop. And just to throw out a little bit more information, currently, the way the state funds our classroom teachers is based on these 2021 to 2022 figures. So we are funded, for example, for kindergarten, 1 teacher per 18 students. So when we get to this fiscal year, our funding is actually going to match what our class size requirements are. So currently, right now, we actually receive a little bump in funding. We get a little bit extra funding, and what LEAs do is use that for enhancement teachers, PE, art, music. So when we get here, there will be no extra funding. So that's going to be a little bit of a hurt.
But at least we've got time to plan.
Yes. Spending by object. This is going to give you a snapshot of how we are planning our local budget, the spending. You can see the biggest piece of the pie here, 64%, is for salaries and benefits, because Asheville City Schools definitely values human capital here. Next piece going to purchase services at 14%. The next biggest, capital outlay, with 12%. And then tying for the last spot are transfers and, supplies and material. So our local projected budget is just over $35.5 million.
What is transfer?
That's where we transfer, so we do, for example, we transfer money to each schools for their student activity funds. It's anything that we transfer out.
And our chargeable payments?
Yes, chargeable payments. Okay, so these are the big impacts to our Fund 2 and Fund 8 budget. This is something we expect every year. Our salary increases, we are projecting just under $400,000. We're projecting a 4% increase for certified staff and a 3% increase for non-certified and central office staff. And as always, the next year not being an exception, the benefit rates are drastically increasing. So our retirement rate really is going to increase. So currently in this fiscal year, our retirement rate is 17.13%. Next year, it is significantly jumping to 18.44%, which, as you can see, does a huge hit to our budget. And this is just Fund 2 and Fund 8.
It's not our state budget or, other like federal grants.
Right. So that is just over $211,000. Same for our hospitalization. This year, we currently pay $5,869 per employee. Next year, that is jumping to $6,104. So that's just over $71,000. Hiring incentive program. Charlotte has worked very closely with Ms. Hatcher and Dr. Dickerson on the hiring incentive program. And what this is, we are trying to attract and retain highly qualified licensed teachers in very hard to fill areas. That is solely going to affect math teachers and EC teachers. $2,000 will be paid to the qualified candidates who sign an employment contract, after their 30-day probationary period. And Ms. Hector, would you like to add anything to that?
I will be working with the board attorney to make certain that if this is passed, that we do put in place a commitment agreement, because we do not want individuals to take the money anymore. So we would have a commitment agreement. He and I have worked on one in the past that we probably could just dust off, but it would be, if they left before the time period is up, it would be a prorated amount. If this Senate is approved, we would love to be able to advertise this with our May 5th job fair that's coming up. So we are very excited about this. And our hope is, if this is successful, we can sustain it and maybe attract and address other hard-to-fill areas within the district.
Let's talk about our local salary supplement. In 2016-17, the commissioners gave us extra money to work on increasing our supplement. So at that time, we did increase our last tier, the 20+ to 16%. We felt like those are the veteran employees that often get left out of state raises. So we went ahead and increased it in 2016-17. When we proposed the budget this year, we said if we have enough money, we would like to increase it this current year. So we have a proposal before you tonight to increase it and make 0.5% each tier.
Thank you, that's wonderful. Well, it's okay. She said we missed it.
Motion to make it retroactive.
That's a good deal.
So we do feel like we'll have the funds to increase it in May if you approve that tonight.
So we'll get the money in May.
In May. Yes. We just want to show you an example of what it is now. Any questions?
Pat would like to know if you can make it better.
No.
Thank you, Sharon.
Let's talk about our revenue sources. As you can see, most of our money in our local budget comes from county government, supplemental tax, the county appropriation, and sales tax. That's 81% of our budget is funded by county dollars. And then, I will say the next highest category is 11%. That is the fund balance that we propose to appropriate. So like $2.8 million next year. And then, in our budget, we have proposed to ask the county for a little over $1.2 million. And our supplemental tax, which is at 12 cents, $9.1 million. And then our projected sales tax at 2.894. We did get these projections for the supplemental tax and the sales tax from the county. Any questions? And then we break down each of the new positions so you can see the cost of each position. That's on the next two slides.
These include the local salary supplement
Yes.
and matching benefits.
And matching benefits. It's the total cost.
What does House Bill 90 say about enhancement teachers right now? We gonna
They
look at that?
say they're going to fund it in phases as well, over a 4-year period.
Okay.
So I project we'll get at least 2 next year.
So you're thinking 2 out of the first phase?
Yes.
Okay. You know how many when it's fully funded?
I think
Jones?
around 11 and a half.
Okay.
That's a rough estimate.
And that's district-wide to cover everything?
Yes, so you can see
So
that's
you
not going
get
to be
full funding, it's not
enough.
gonna be enough.
So what's the discrepancy between what we have now and what we would have now? How many?
They look, I'm not sure how they pull their data, but they're looking, I don't know if they're looking at state funds, but they projected that we'll get like 11 and a half. They took a number that I think they received it from the principal's monthly report. And they took that state report and divided it. So, it's not real clear.
So for the core teacher for the alternative program, are we missing a teacher in a certain area, or do we expect an increase in students?
Right now, there's the math teacher. That position wasn't being able to be filled.
Yeah.
So we have to use a high school teacher to teach those students. So that position's there. And that's Is that what you're?
Mm, that's-
And we're hoping with our signing bonus, we can track that matches to that.
Okay, this is, further details the new position. And of course, any money the county gives us, we have to split with Buncombe County Schools. And the split right now is we get 15.78%, so we project the same thing as the current year. And let's talk a little bit about capital. A few months ago, I brought a lottery application for you to complete and approve for the windows at Johns Elementary. And that's over $1.5 million. That has not been approved, but we hope that'll be approved soon, so we can move forward with closing up those renovations. Also, we looked at our 5-year capital plan, and we've kind of revised it. We've talked to architects and the construction crew, and we're trying to take care of critical needs at each school. So next year, we're going to start on some of those projects as our funding allows, and we like to repair the Walton Montford, and also repair some hot water lines at Asheville Primary, and a wall at Asheville Primary. Those are on the critical list. And of course, just a little reminder of what the Capital Commission Fund is funded, the Jones HVAC and the roof, and also Asheville High School and Montford are still. And we thank you for your time, and we'd really like you to approve this budget, proposed budget, so we can send it forward to the county commissioners. I think Dr. Patterson has to present on May 8th.
Dr. Patterson, who's our representative on the Fund Commission, the Capital Fund Commission?
Right on, it's Donna Watson.
Donna Watson is. My understanding is, that's the flow of the Article 39 sales tax money dedicated to school construction. Just something to be thinking about. It's my understanding that that money is pretty much obligated for debt service for the foreseeable future.
Yes, it is.
So we've got it in the middle school, we've got the high school being addressed, but there is not money to build a school in a debt service model for years and years to come. So we need to take care of what we've got.
That might be something that the community needs to be really well aware of, just because.
And that's true for both the county schools and the city schools.
Right, well-
The debt service, so they built intermediate school, we built the middle school, and it's all pretty much obligated at this point.
Yeah, it is obligated.
Yeah.
They gave us revenue projection, the last one.
Right.
Is there any other questions?
It's really good. Thank you. Thank you both. Next, we also have Charlotte with our audit contract.
Yes, we have a fiscal year, actually. There is an increase of $3,200. I would recommend that we go ahead and approve this. That's due to the new federal regulations, so they will have to do additional work.
And we have to have Ms. Sullivan again with our budget review.
Yes, we have a budget amendment to approve some additional funding for staff development, and also just a transfer of line items for the capital outlay fund to buy custodial equipment.
Ms. Sullivan with our May supplement.
Okay, I talked a little bit about this a few minutes ago, about the May supplement. We do believe we'll have the money to increase the local supplement 0.5% in May, a few weeks from now. And also, we'll be doing we've purchased new software this year.
That's good.
And there's a new process. Before, it was looking at the annual, the supplement and basing it on your earnings instead of your annual salary. So I wanted you to know that we're going to change the process. It's going to be based on your annual salary. It will be prorated. If you started in April and you get the supplement May, you would not get a full year. You just, it would be prorated, but we are going to change that process.
Miss Griffin's gonna try.
She came back with a substitute. She came back with a substitute and want a supplement.
Mr. Campbell, could you set a separate meeting for them?
Right. We can make a special dispensation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Charlotte. Next, we have Ms. Hett with Horizons National Program.
Yes, good afternoon. We presented with an opportunity through Himanshu Carvier, and he has with him today Monica Antonazzo. And they want to talk to us about a summer program opportunity that would target some Asheville City Schools students of the elementary age. There's an overview in your packet, and I'm going to turn it over to Himanshu and Monica to share more information and take your questions.
All right, I have some paperwork. Thank you so much for giving us your time today. I'm going to give you a couple of things, copies for board members, if I think I am. So we just had an article that these programs are in, there are several in Atlanta, and there was just an article, that's a copy, I'll give you like a couple of things here. So this is the teacher recommendation. Okay, this is the teacher recommendation forms. And so they get one each of those and one each of those.
I've got extra copies of the article.
And so this is what we would be giving the parents. These are those. So she has everything. Yeah, this is the one that the teachers would have. So, Himanshu, do you want to start telling them about it?
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. Like Melissa said, my name is Himanshu Parveer. I am a local resident here in Asheville. And a couple of years ago, my wife and I came across a program called Horizons National. And we were very interested in it and how it worked. And we wanted to bring it here to Asheville. So the last 2 years we've been working on it. Just going over, making sure that it's something we can do here, and it's definitely something we can do here. And we're very excited. We've hired Monica as an executive director for the program. And like Monica said, and you have in your information package, it's a national program. There's Horizons National that's been having this, doing this program for the last 50 plus years, and they're in 55 different sites throughout the country. And we would be an affiliate program of that here at Horizons at Caroline Day School. And the program basically partners with an independent school, a university, or a college, and hosts a summer program on the campus of that school. It's 6 weeks of full academic. I mean, it includes everything we just went over your STEAM, it includes reading, math, science, engineering, art. And it's to basically tackle the summer learning loss that students experience during the break in summer. So this program is a full day program. It starts at 8:30 in the morning, goes on till 3. We will include transportation for the students to and from the school. We will includes breakfast, lunch, hot lunch, snacks, everything. Everything is provided for the students. There's 2 teachers in the classroom, so it's a very low student to teacher ratio. It's 15 students that we would start the program with. And the way the program works is, the first year we'll be starting with 15 students of rising first graders, so they're kindergartners going into first grade. And the commitment from parents and students is that they return to the program every year. And because it's a national program that's been going on for a long time, they have a lot of data and they have a lot of information on that. And they have about 84% retention rate in all their programs. So this year we will start with 15 rising first graders. Next year they will graduate to rising second graders, and we would start with another class of rising first graders. And we will keep increasing the program every year up to 8th grade right now. And as the program matures, my intention and our intention is to continue it all the way to high school, maybe partner with UNC Asheville or Ed Tech, and actually have the last 4 years on their campus as the program grows. But right now, Canal Day School is hosting the program. They're providing all the back of the house, infrastructure support, all of that for the program itself. So we have, like I said, the last 2 years we've been working on it. We visited quite a few programs that are in session last summer. Talked to the teachers, talked to the students, talked to the directors there. Monica's been to training with National for the executive director training. And so I'm in the hotel business and we operate franchise hotels. So I looked at this like a franchise, but it's not. That Horizons provides all the support. They have done this for a long time. They have a lot of information for us. And we're just kind of duplicating it here. They've got great results. The students will be tested in the beginning and towards the end as well to see the growth they've had in those 6 weeks. We're partnering with the Y. Swimming is a critical part of the program. The students have to learn how to swim. And we're partnering with the YMCA over at the Reuter to provide the swimming lessons. Again, we will provide the transportation back and forth to the swimming. And Green Opportunities is going to provide all the hot lunches for the program as well. So we've had those partnerships in place. The funding, the cost is about $4,000 a student right now, but as the class sizes increase, that cost will go down, and we're doing all the fundraising ourselves. There's a small application fee. The parents, $20, I think, is what we decided on. And if that's something they can't pay, then we'll take care of it. So that's the program. Monica and I are here to answer any questions you might have. And I want to thank Melissa and Dr. Patterson. I've been bugging them quite a bit since December, but I appreciate this.
So how are you going to determine which kids? Is it going to be a lottery if there are a number of kids? Do you first come, first serve? How would you determine who would be included in this program?
So there are a couple different ways that the different programs around the country do it. Our hope is to partner with Hall Fletcher, and we met with Cynthia and talked this over with her. And we can consider expanding to different schools in the future as the program grows. Of course, the transportation is always more complex when you bring in different schools. So all of the families of the students need to be, the kids need to be on free or reduced lunch. We know that that's not really easily accessible data, but we're asking for the recommendations through the teachers. And we're assuming that the teachers know these kids well, they know the families, and they're going to be our best resource in helping us connect to the kids who need it the most. I included, I believe I passed out there to the board members hopefully, the teacher recommendation form, which we will be, if we are able to move forward, we'd like to meet with the kindergarten teachers, go over that application, answer all the questions that they have about the program, and then have them complete those forms. And so we would like to get the teachers to recommend between 20 and 25. One of the key elements to the program is that the kids are going to be there. And so you'll see there's a line on that application that asks if the students have had any issues with attendance. We want to see the consistency of the results that are going to come from them showing up throughout the summer every day, and then also them coming back each year as long as they still live in the community. And so that's the first step in the process. We would then choose with a committee of myself, a few people from our board, and our first grade teachers, we would narrow it down to probably about 17, 18, so that we have kind of a small wait list, and go from there.
What happens if you don't get that many?
I think we will. From the other programs that I've heard, they fill very quickly. I think from our meeting at Hall Fletcher, we got a sense that there would be a sufficient number of kids. But if that were to happen, we could expand to another school. Some of the other programs start with 2 schools, you know, we can look at that. We kind of have all options open at this point.
That was gonna be my question. Why, how did you decide on Hall Fletcher? This is the question.
Well, we looked at some of the data for the percentage of students that were on free and reduced lunch. And so that, and then we also, I think that their focus in their school, you know, when I had gone to the meetings for the new students, to the Asheville Middle School meeting where all the principals talk about what they're doing, I got a sense from listening to Cynthia that just kind of their focus in the school would be a good match for what we're trying to do as well. But we could expand to other schools too.
Will you have resources in place for kids that may have behaviors or trauma or anything like that, or is there things in place for those students?
So you can see, and this was some of the questions that we had discussed, that on the application it asked the teachers to reflect on whether the students had any significant behavioral issues. And this is something that kind of came down to us from Horizons National, that, you know, that our aim is really to help students in need, and that it's focused primarily on academic need. But again, I really feel like the teachers will have a sense of what that means. So we can discuss that one-on-one. Really what I heard from Horizons is a very rare case that a teacher would say that. But if a child has exhibited significant attention issues to where the teacher's constantly having to really put significant individual resources on them, I think that the teacher, I hope they would know, you know, to maybe check in with me. We're going to talk about what that would look like. The entire Horizons National program is really focused on, and we've been doing webinars on it, our teachers are getting trained on it, on how to work with kids who've experienced trauma, and what is the day-to-day trauma of living in poverty, and how do we see behaviors manifest that come out of those experiences. And so we're very willing to commit our resources to that, and to be looking for those signs, and to be, you know, trying to connect families to outside resources if need be, really, you know, working with the teachers, working with the schools if that's the case, to find out, you know, who do we have in place that we can kind of match them up with.
How about students with IEPs or academic trauma, academic needs?
So the focus is we can work with children with an IEP depending on what that is. Our teachers that we're bringing in from Carolina Day are they're all trained in the Orton-Gillingham method, which is for children with dyslexia. So they would actually be really happy to have kids who you're seeing, like the teachers are seeing early signs of dyslexia. They would love to have them come through the program, because that's basically what they're going to start with from day one, is that Orton-Gillingham method, which is what they use in the first grade at Carolina Day for all students.
So you say there are also various touch points throughout the school year.
Yeah, so we'll have quarterly activities, and so that might be something that's focused more on a social event when they're younger, you know, maybe doing bowling, maybe doing picnic. A lot of the programs, and what we hope to do is do parent programming at that time as well. And so we'll work with the parents to have, you know, just to see what interests them, but maybe different types of, you know, positive parenting, or bringing in the why with their mobile kitchen and different things based on what they would like to do.
So your teachers are coming from Carolina Day?
This year they are,
Okay.
but in the future, for all of our classrooms, we would like to have one public school teacher and one Carolina Day teacher. This first year, we have 2 lead teachers in the classroom. In the future, it'll be 1 lead teacher and 2 assistant teachers, and the way that pans out will just be based on applications. So we'll publish a public application for this. Basically, these were the teachers that were put in place during the whole implementation plan these past 2 years. They were very on board from the beginning. We'll also have a reading specialist role. which is somebody that will have a role that consistently grows each summer and is connected to the national program as far as running the STAR assessments at the beginning and end of the 6 weeks. That I would love also to hire from the public school, and particularly from the school that we would partner with if there was somebody interested in doing that.
So your teachers that are going to be starting with this program have the correct certification, they have Orton Gillingham, they are certified by the state, or they have all kinds of training in different types of situations.
Oh, yeah.
So, okay.
So what kind of testing will they do?
Well, that's the next
Yeah.
question.
So it's the STAR reading assessment, and so at the rising first grade level, they just do the reading. We don't do the reading and math. We'll start with the reading and math later, and so they'll get that probably the second day of the 6 weeks, and then right at the end as well. Some of the programs do it. I mean, it's a quick. The short version is a quick little iPad version. Some of them do it kind of once a week or something. I have to see if we really want to do it that much. But it's pretty incredible, the gains nationally that they see. It's a couple of, it's basically more gain than kids would make in a school. It's like twice as much as they make during the school year in a 6-week game.
Will those Carolina Day students be on campus as well? Will they have a chance to interact or mentor? Or?
Yeah, so I'm very excited about the ways that we're gonna interact and work with some of the older students on campus. I already have 6 of the high school students who volunteered to be part of the program. One of them teaching an art class, one of them helping us with the swimming, kids who are coming in and helping with the reading portion, so can do one-on-one activities with a kid who needs really someone sitting right next to them. And then we'll have, also on campus at the same time, are going to be Camp Bell, which is Carolina Day's summer camps that have different themes. And so the kids will be together on the playground, we'll be together for meals. You know, we're going to look for, there's a couple of things that are coming on campus that are super cool that we're going to make sure all the kids participate in as a large group. Like there's this one group that converted a big rig truck into this pirate ship thing, and they learn building different things. And so we've already, the director of that camp, his wife is on our board. And so we're going to be well integrated in the ways that we can be, and then in the ways that we're really focusing in on our project-based, you know, reading and math, and we'll be doing our own thing at that time.
What about the swimming component? I saw that, is that mandatory?
Yeah, so the swimming, and we understand that part is going to gain from us a lot of questions and maybe nervousness from parents. And that is a mandatory element that they started, and when they started this program in 1964 in Connecticut, that was a mandatory element that they included. And that, it starts out, it's, you know, we're getting swim instructors from the Y. We're actually starting out from the very basics of water safety. So the water safety courses at the Y really likes to teach to just have kids know how to be around water, to know how to engage with adults when they're near water, to sort of get permission for entering and feeling more comfortable, and then we'll move into the swimming lessons part. But it is kind of that experiential element that is really confidence building when they start from the very beginning. You know, you see from all the other programs they've told me they could not have imagined how amazing the swimming part was going to be. Seeing the kids afraid of the water, seeing the kids refusing to go in, and it's a very gentle, patient approach to it, where we're not throwing kids in the pool. So, you know, just to see them from day one like that, and then by the end, you know, swimming on their own, splashing around, having fun with their friends. And, you know, I think I helped run another program like this where we included rock climbing. We worked with kids from Randolph Learning Center and other schools around the community, and the parents at first were like, what are you talking about, rock climbing? And it was so beautiful to see how them building confidence in that physical realm applied to how they spoke up for themselves, asked questions, answered questions, and that's what we see with how the swimming relates to academics.
So you have visited other programs?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's one in Greenville, North Carolina, one in Savannah, and then a brand new one also opening in Charleston this summer. So we're sort of building up our southeastern region. We're excited about that.
Do you know who the Greenville program partners with?
Greenville is the Oakwood School.
What kind of school is that?
It's another independent school, like non-sectarian, non-religious
Are there
independent
any
school.
public school students in Greenville attending? Any partnership with the public school?
Oh yeah, all of the Horizons
All
have.
programs.
All the kids who attend are
Are from
from a
public
public school. But I don't know
That's the
which public school they have, but I can let you know. And the executive director's name is Chris Arnold, and he is incredibly helpful. He came up here and met with us recently, and so he would be happy to answer any questions.
That'd be great to find out who the contact with.
Sure.
And Atlanta actually has 8 programs currently going on, and that's why there's an article in Journal Constitution just 2 days ago, and they're expanding to 10 programs, including Georgia Tech and Kennesaw State University, Georgia State University. So they've been hosting those programs for years now.
Did you all say we would be a representative from Hall Fletcher on the selection committee for the students?
Well, the teachers will be the ones who give us the recommendations to begin with, the Hall Fletcher teachers.
So when you give the recommendations, is there a committee that's going to review those recommendations?
Yes.
Will there be a representative for Hall Fletcher
Sure.
on that committee?
Yeah, if they'd
Where-
like to be. Yeah, the more people from Hall Fletcher, the better.
It's really a partnership. That's
Are you just taking 15 Asheville City School students, or will Buncombe County students be included in that 15, or will they be just?
right now we want to partner with city schools, specifically one school. I think Monica mentioned about transportation, and that's been our challenge right now. Setting up everything else was pretty straightforward. It's the cost of transportation was so high. We're fortunate enough that Carolina Day is providing transportation for the first year. But that's something we're working on now for next year. So, and the other schools that we visited and spoke with, they started out with multiple schools, and that started becoming just drop off and pick up. Coordinating that and transportation again was an issue. So we would, if possible, just at least start out with one school. But as the program grows, then we can definitely start looking at others.
So you will pick the children up at their home and return them to their home, or will they have to go, say, to Hall Fletcher and be picked up as
Hall-
if there?
Yeah, we want, Hall Fletcher would be the spot that we would pick them up and we try to drop them off.
Okay, so it would be a parent's responsibility to get them there and then to pick them up after the program is over. Okay.
So the only real school involvement is assisting with identifying the students.
That's the only required involvement.
Required,
We would
yeah.
love for it to be a
And I'm a
active
lawyer, so I'm
partnership.
only concerned about that.
Yeah, working with our business office, and I'm always like,
Obligation, right, right. So I should phrase it that way. Is that
Yes.
the only real obligation?
Let me think about that before I answer my lawyer.
Okay.
But I thus far, I
Yeah,
believe that
and
that's.
everything else is,
Everything
Yeah,
else,
there's
soup to
no
nuts is taken
financial-
care of. Okay,
Going
no
on.
financial obligation.
No.
none whatsoever.
Um, Yeah, that's what I would think. So
Okay.
just-
And we just have to work together on the referral process because we can't give the kind of student information you're wanting without parental consent, but we can talk about. They have to have already dealt with that in Greenville, North Carolina, so.
Mhm.
I'll
Yeah,
kind
because
of-
they're North Carolina school.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's not insurmountable, it's just the parents have to know ahead of time,
okay,
so we just have to figure that out.
all right.
So do you have any data to show how the students that you've worked with up to this point fare against their peers that have not participated in your program?
So we have not, the national program itself? Yeah.
Yeah, and other,
Um,
as in,
We do, apologize, it's not in color, but on the national website, they did post the 2017 report, and it doesn't compare, I'm sorry, I apologize, it's not in color, but there's a 2.5 month growth in 6 weeks that these students have experienced that others did not. And that's all the 54 programs. That's aggregate results here, 2.5
So
months.
you're taking the end of the year data and comparing it with the beginning of the next year's data? Is that how they did it?
This is based on the STAR,
On the test?
on the testing we do for the 6-week program. And then there's, like I said, it's a partnership really. So we would hopefully get some feedback from the teachers, from the students that are in the classroom saying, have they been well or not.
But see, my concern is that Paul Fletcher students have shown some growth. Why not look at a school where you have students who haven't shown that much growth? This seems like this would help them more than looking at a school where the students have made a lot of progress. Just
We're open to suggest, again, we looked at the reports that were online,
yeah.
and heard great things about the principal there, so we reached out because.
Okay, that's
Okay,
just
I mean,
my
that's-
concern.
sure.
Yeah. They may have more low-income students, but I'm saying there are other schools who have low-income students who haven't made the progress that maybe Paul Fletcher students have made.
Which would,
We can follow up and talk about all 5 of, well, now 6 of our elementary schools have significant numbers of percentages of free and reduced lunch students. Hall Fletcher has maintained the highest percentage and the highest number, and I absolutely agree about the gains there. I also feel like with the percent of students there who are lower socioeconomic, that there are a lot of kids there who don't have summer opportunities, so.
Well, I realize that.
But we can,
Yeah, I just
we
think
can
we
talk
need-
about
yeah.
any of it.
Those summer opportunities are generally pretty expensive. What are the hours of participation during the day?
8:30 to 3, full day school.
Yeah, so we would be meeting them at the school around 8:15, and then getting them back to the school about 3:30. And if there was anything, you wanted us to have legal-wise in the contracting that we're signing with the parents, I'd be happy to have you look over what we have, which is what I got from the Oakwood School, and then Carolina Day has looked at, and make sure everybody feels like we've covered everything that needs to be said on that.
And I guess really what needs to happen from here is for Dr. Patterson and Ms. Heck to come back to the board with a more concrete proposal of what this looks like, now that the board's up to speed. The board usually acts with a recommendation from the administration, if the board wants to proceed. And we can work through all those details as we do that. And time is of the essence with summer coming up.
It
You know,
is.
board members don't approve something like this, obviously.
Oh, no,
first time
no.
they hear it. I know you're not asking that.
No.
Yeah, yeah. But that would be just so you know that's kind of the process, is for the administration to come back with a recommendation.
Any other questions? Well, thank you so much for
Well, thank
presenting
you.
this to us, and Dr. Patterson will get back to you once they make their recommendation.
All right, thank you for your
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Next on our agenda, we have Ms. Pett with food trips.
Okay, thank you. We have 6 either out of state or overnight or over 300-mile trips for you today. And we'll start with Asheville High School. Dr. Dingle has 3 trips to share.
Before Dr. Dingle shares, I want to thank the board for going ahead with the one that we did at the sort of last minute. I understand they did the first place in that competition.
Yes.
Thank you.
And although that trip has already happened, it is on the list of trips that Dr. Dingle is going to share with you so that we get it officially ratified.
Yes, sir. Madam Chair, members of the board, thank you for this opportunity. We do have 3 field trips, as Ms. has said. 1 needs to be ratified. If I could, the students did a great job. It was a statewide competition, and Ms. Oliver brought in the hardware today, so it's in the front office. We'll take pictures and print that out for Ms. said. But this field trip happened on the 13th, 11th to the 13th. It was to Charlotte. It just needs to be ratified by you all today.
That would be the easiest place to do that. I would suggest you just amend the consent agenda when we get out of our open session. And item B to ratify the field trip.
Okay, and for the next field trip, this five band, we have 5 students who qualified via district competition for All-State Honor Band. So these 5 students will go into UNC Chapel Hill for that, to actually participate in All-State Honor Band. And this would be, excuse me, on May 4th and May 5th.
Do you want to take action on that this evening?
We have to, don't
Yeah, we can add that as another consent item then.
In our last field trip, and those of you all made comments about want to be retroactive, this field trip is going to be a culture exchange to Denmark. So we have
I can chaperone that.
we have a partnership with these folks, and they actually sent their students to us this year. We have 15 of their students who came and stayed with us, various host families. Had a great time with those students, and so we always go back in exchange with them the following year. So this is a trip to Copenhagen, Denmark, which will be from September 15th through September 25th. So you all can see the particulars there. There's a cost for this trip. They're in the process now looking at $2,500. We're looking at fundraising, so any students who want to participate and attend can do so. This is for juniors and seniors, and they're also looking at a possible grant from the Asheville City Foundation.
So we'll just put all of those on consent.
You can just, well, why don't we just make item D field trips?
Is that how
And then 1, 2, 3.
Having that way field trips on the consent.
Sure. Yeah. That'd be a good way to do it. Great way to do it. So you'll have 3 field trip items, the way I understand it, for tonight under back to consent.
Thank you, Dr. Dingle.
Thank you.
We have,
No, thank you.
we have 2 trips from Asheville Middle School. Principal Dockery is here.
Just to keep things simple, I also have students who are going to participate in the All-State Honor Band, and they will actually travel on the same charter bus with Asheville High students and social students. That is the second item, is an overnight trip as well. They'll go on the same charter bus to Chapel Hill. I also have a day trip to Atlanta. It's part of our AIG program. It's an enrichment project for ESG students. So these children will go to Atlanta and visit different places of worship, and then return back to Asheville Middle School later that evening.
Any questions? Thank you, ma'am.
Last but not least, we have Ms. Sellinger. Some parents of 5th graders at Hall Fletcher have expressed to both Ms. Sellinger and the district that they were concerned that they did not have an overnight field trip experience the way that other 5th grade school 5th graders have. And so Ms. Sellinger, Mr. Casta, and myself have been working with these parents to come to a compromise about this year. It was a little late in the year to plan it overnight, and also work on adding that overnight component for next year. So Ms. Sellinger is here to share their proposal.
We are asking approval for a very long day trip to Dollywood. And this is in direct alignment with our science standard course of study objective for force and motion. Of course, we took 7th graders when I was at the middle school, and there is a whole curriculum guide that goes along with this trip that the teachers will be using in preparation for the trip. Again, this will be paid for by PTO. And we will leave projecting, this is in June, of course, we will leave very early in the morning, about 6 a.m. and get back around 8 p.m. Any questions?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else, Melissa?
Was
No, I do want the board to be aware that we are working with the Paul Fletcher folks to, on overnight for next year so that there's an equitable opportunity for all fifth grade students and perhaps even partnering them with another school who already has a trip in place, but I just want you to be aware that we are working on that.
Is that recent that they start taking field trips?
Paul Fletcher has not done a fifth grade overnight, according to the parents that came to us in 6 or 7 years. And now with social media, there's a lot of publicity around the trips the kids are on, so the families, they were concerned, and Ms. Sounder and Mr. Casino will work with them.
And we're already addressing, can I talk?
Still talking about the field trip.
I like, sure.
No, you're fine.
We're already addressing that because our population is changing, and the fifth grade teachers and I are already talking about doing things differently and just being very upfront with parents about the cost of these kinds of trips. I don't think they're aware and how much fundraising that takes, and that we have to have the support of parents to help us with fundraising. Teachers cannot do all of that by themselves and teach. Just so you know the plan.
Okay.
Down the road.
Thank you. Anything else? All right, next we have teacher. So Ms. Hatcher.
Good afternoon. I'm going to go over just the teacher contracts. We had a committee that met on March the 12th. We had came to the board before, and Chris reviewed this kind of briefly to talk about the change in the teacher contracts for the upcoming school year. And in that meeting with you all, it was recommended that we formulate a committee. So we did. That committee consisted of principals, assistant principals, and teachers of the teacher year. Again, that committee met on March 12th. Dean Shanley from Chris's office came and explained the legal ramifications around why these changes were taking place. He presented historical information and an overview of teacher contract status. He discussed the length of the contract, and in that discussion, there were 3 options. Actually, there are 4 options that a district could choose. They could either choose option 1, which is a 1 standard contract length. Option 2, which is a 2-year contract followed by a 4-year. Option 3, a 2 or 4-year contract. And option 4, a rolling 2-year contract. I will not get into the depth of each of these contracts, but the committee did choose option 2, which would be that they would grant a 2-year contract and renew for 4 years if the teacher meets the criteria. That means that the teacher is in good standing, and that's the criteria as it relates to the North Carolina teacher instrument. And then failure to meet this criteria will also result in them going back to a 1-year contract. We felt the need to do so with the need of us competing with other districts, Buncombe County, Hendersonville, Henderson County, Polk County. All of those districts are doing a 2-year contract. Now keep in mind when our group voted, they did not know that. But the vote, the results of the vote yielded that they wanted to go with option 2. And so we're coming this evening asking that this be placed on the consent agenda so that when we're able to issue our contracts this year, that we can issue this new contract. Our goal is to have our contracts issued after we return back from our Memorial Weekend, because what we do not want to happen is our teachers to go home, the teachers that we've asked to return without a contract, giving them the ability to go and to look for jobs elsewhere. So we, and this was a time-sensitive issue as well, but we did want to go ahead and have these contracts approved so that we could go ahead and have our contracts issued and have our staff that chooses to return secured for the next school. Are there any questions?
It's Memorial Day this year.
It's the 30th, is it not?
28.
The 20th.
Is it the 28th?
Yeah, 28th of May. Okay.
So our goal is to have these contracts out when we come back. We will have them, my goal is to have them ready to be distributed to staff when we come back. And we want to distribute them electronically through a Google Doc. So they will go directly to the individuals they're intended for. The principals will receive information as to who will be receiving the contracts, and their building they already, we obviously already know, because we do not have a whole lot of non-renewals this year. But we would go ahead and send that contract information out to those those employees. We'd also have a communication plan, because we want the employees to know when they're coming, as well as the principals to know, so that they can anticipate when they will be receiving these documents. And we did do this last year. We got the contracts out before they went home, and they were very pleased.
So again, the proposal is a 2-year contract, and if you meet the same standards for a 2-year, you
Then you
will
get a
then
four.
get a 4-year. And that is the same thing that Buncombe County Schools
Yes,
is
sir.
doing, and Polk County Schools. So it'll make you consistent with them as well.
But does that mean at the end of 2 years, you are?
At the end of 2 years, you would be eligible then for a 4.
Right.
If you didn't meet the criteria
You go
for
back to
performance
1.
reasons, you go back to a 1 year. And then you do have the ability to be do 2 and 4.
That was correct.
Yeah, if you go back to a 1, sure.
So on that performance scale, they cannot have, what is it?
Development.
Development.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, they'd have to at least be proficient in it.
Okay.
So what we do is add it as an informational item to the end of the agenda tonight to count as a first reading, so that you could then fully consider it and vote on second reading in May, so that it would be ready for their deadline. So if we could have the policy.
So we need to,
What's
we
the
need
number?
to, update the policy to reflect this.
Or what's the policy number?
I don't know, Chris, I don't know.
Oh, okay, so y'all,
I'll have that ready.
okay. It will be the same.
I didn't pull it, and I do apologize.
Well, what we can do, and we've done this before, is we will go ahead and post it on the website. And we will put it on for approval in May, and since it is time sensitive, we'll just waive the additional reading.
Okay.
But we'll go ahead and put the policy on the website so that the public and teachers, and Dr. Patterson can push it out to teachers immediately and say this is the policy that the board will vote on in May. And then like we did with the attendance policies, we can pass it on a single reading
And I'll update that.
because of time consideration. So we don't need to amend the agenda tonight.
Okay.
We don't have a policy to
Because
put
it
that
would be
on.
second,
It would go into June, right?
Yeah, and it wouldn't be ready for what we needed to do.
So we'll get it to board members right away and the teachers and put it on the website and we have it on the agenda.
So, that's all I have.
Thank you, Mrs. Hatcher. Were there any other questions for Mrs. Hatcher? All right, next we have Dr. McAllister and Mr. Cassiter with.
Chris, Dr. McAllister's voice a little longer tonight. If you would, please, thank you, Madam Chair and board members. If you would, please look at policy numbers 4400 on attendance, and policy 4351, which is short-term suspension. We'll look at the 4400 attendance policy first. When Dr. Howard and myself met in the middle of the year with each of our schools and our student support teams and our admin, one of the pieces that continually came back up was the attendance numbers, and that the current policy was very forgiving in that it allowed a set of absences to be excused all the way through the end of a grading period. In other words, if Martha missed August 29th and never told us the reason why, Martha's parent would have all the way till this, well, if you were an elementary student, May or June to actually get that absence excused. And it, at this point, could be as simple as a phone call to the office or just a note written, oh, could you please excuse Martha for all the dates? And they could make a list of all those dates in June, turn that in, and have all those wiped out. But in the meantime, we've gone through all these additional steps of trying to make sure that they were in school and do attendance letters. So it's been a very difficult piece for us to track. So one of the pieces of feedback that we received was to make the recommendation to take policy 4400. If you'll look at section C2, number 2, where it currently says that written excuses will be signed by a parent or guardian and presented to the school in writing. Currently, it says by the end of the grading period or within 2 days after return to school if absent at the end of the grading period. We would like to make the change to within 5 days of the absence. That is in alignment with districts that are around us as well. That is pretty common and standard, that 5 days are the length of time where a school week. So we're asking for that simple change to be made.
5 school days or 5 calendar days?
We said 5 days, and that's school days.
School days.
Yes.
Because it would also benefit, it benefits our district, but it would really help the high school, because they get letters, excuse letters throughout the,
Correct.
so
Then
it'll
I
help.
think it should say 5 school days, just to be on the safe side.
Okay. So that is the wording, and we wanted you to make sure that we pass that through our stakeholders, and that did come from them, and then Dr. McAllister, myself, Dr. Howard met, and we're making this suggestion to the board tonight. Policy 4351, short-term suspension. If you will look at section B2, this is a very minor change as well. In developing the changes for the new student code of conduct book for next year, we noticed that in policy 4351, that currently students have to, by our current policy, request, parents have to request or students have to request their work if they are suspended in a short-term suspension. We feel like we want the student to be able to access that work regardless of whether or not they make the request to do so or not. It would be the expectation that we provide them with the instructional materials to work on while they're suspended. So we would like to make that small word change to simply remove upon request in section B2.
So let me ask real quick, so are the principals going to advise teachers that it is their responsibility to make sure that any student out on suspension does in fact receive the materials?
Yes, we would like to make that conveyed through our principals, that once they make a short-term suspension, that it is the expectation that those will be supplied to the student and the family.
Okay, then in that case, I would suggest striking the right to receive as well, because that just creates a question of what is the right? Do I have to ask for it? Is it?
Okay.
So I think if you just started number 2 with all missed assignments, then number 2 will read, the student under short-term suspension must be provided with the following, all missed assignments. Yeah, if you leave the right to receive in there, it will just complicate it.
Okay.
You're actually now providing more than the statute requires you to provide. This is the statutory language of the public request, and that's great, it's fine.
I'm gonna throw a little wrench in here.
But I'd definitely do that.
As a former high school teacher, I think this is great. But how are we going to ensure that this actually occurs?
It's our feeling that if a principal is going to the step to suspend a child, and we want this to be the exception, not the rule,
Right.
that we actually are putting things in place to where it would be more slightly cumbersome to have the child out of school. We want it to be, find ways for the students to be left in school and find alternatives to suspension. So we feel like, one, that if we take this step, that we want to make sure that we are saying the value of the education is of highest importance. Therefore, I think it perhaps would even be that we change our referral process in some way, that maybe an educator's handbook, that we place that wording in there in some way, that we would like for a parent to know that the expectation is that the assignments will be provided to them. So I think our letters could state that, and that would give us an additional way of accountability.
And that's, I agree with that, but my concern is, if all students should be given their assignments, and I would like to ensure that every teacher is cognizant of that, and every teacher has a process or something that they use, so that we can make sure that every teacher gives those assignments for every child. And I just feel that's really important.
So the suggestion is we can create a template that can be housed and used for any school. And by period, let's use high school, 4 periods on there, have the teacher sign it.
Yep.
Just and everybody signs at the bottom, and it goes as part of the file, and it goes home to the child, and they go home, and we get a copy at Student Support Center.
Teacher and student both have to sign that,
Yes, ma'am.
and that way we can ensure that there's no misunderstanding
Yes,
or
ma'am.
miscommunication.
And if they turn it in, it must be graded. It must be given.
Oh,
It's
yes,
not
ma'am.
just
Yeah.
busy
Yes,
work.
ma'am.
So we'll have that document ready the next board meeting so they can review it.
I want to make sure too that we also, because, you know, some of those incidents happen at odd times of the day, and so I want to make sure that the teacher knows they have ample time to prepare that stuff, because that's not always just something they can just pull together in an instant.
No, it isn't, but that's just completely fair for all kids and all teachers.
So I think that's good.
And it doesn't say, you know, advance notice of the assignments, it's the missed assignment, so that right there means when they get back, they're given all of that. so.
Now, and I guess we want to make sure we have a caveat here too. Notice that it says, to the extent practicable, many of our teachers and assignments those are online or digital components that they have. So we want to make sure too, we're even prepared to make sure they have access to the digital Wi-Fi piece that they might need as well in local community centers or wherever we need to do that. I know also Matt Whiteside even has some Wi-Fi or some, what do you call it? Hotspots, thank you. Hotspots that we can get the child to send home with them as well, if that would help complete the assignments.
Okay.
Is there something, the way it's gonna read, if it says missed assignments, to me, they're taking the textbook home, but then you're saying they'll receive missed, should it say assignments that will be missed or something? I don't know, it just seemed like,
Yeah, we don't want them to come back to school and have a work in addition to what they've missed, and then have the
Right.
current work.
Yeah, on the front end, they need to be given this template with all the assignments. Of course,
Yeah.
the teachers might not be able to do it that day, but within a day, give them a day, put all the assignments, put it together, and if the school social worker gotta go to the house and drop it off, they go to the house and drop it off.
Absolutely.
And we'll need to do some training around this to collaborate with the principals, to tell them about this, and then the principal will need to have their staff trained on this process to know that they understand this policy. And we'll have their sign-in sheet of whoever attended the staff meeting. And if they didn't, we'll do it on their PLCs, but still have documentation that they received training.
Good.
So we'll also need to tell the principals that.
And we're not talking about busy work, we're talking about.
What they're actually
The actual
going over
missed
while they're
assignment,
at
that would be, I guess the wording would be receive all potentially missed assignments or something.
I would just say all class assignments. Yeah, take out missed and just
take
put
the
class.
missed.
Class.
Yeah. So we'd say all class assignments. And then, like you said, the schools and the learning communities can figure out what that looks like.
Right, because it'll be different for each school,
Sure.
and each, you know.
Yeah,
but-
maybe even by department.
Oh, definitely by the.
And we'll have a guiding document for you all to look at the next time.
And I think this is correct when I say this, Dr. McAllister, as part of the letter, every parent is a portion of 4351, is it a part of the letter, the suspension letter, the short-term suspension, I think
It is. The
Yeah.
same language is in the
That's
letters.
what I thought,
So
yeah.
this will need to be.
we need to change the letter
Yeah.
as well to reflect.
And I think our next meeting is May
7th.
So May 7th, we'll have all of these. Thank you.
Student code copy.
I think that is it. If there's nothing else, may I have a motion to go into closed session?
It would be pursuant to 143-318.11A1 to discuss personnel matters confidential according to GS 115C 319 through 321 and subsection A3 to discuss matters protected by the attorney conflict.
Motion to what? Second. All in favor? So moved. I don't know how you remember all that. I have been still, but that's long as